the nurse advised us to start feeding him baby food, just to start the transition to solid food and to try out if he could even sleep better. He didn't respond well. He was in a lot of pain. He was screaming all through the night and all through the day. He was sweating profusely. His clothes were soaked and he was spastic from the pain. My husband Thomas and I would take turns comforting him and carrying him all through the night. And each one of us could take maximum of 30 minutes. And then we would have to switch.
You try to do everything for him, but you can't take away the pain.
When they put him on IV nutrition, within 2 days he was pain-free. And we realized that many of his symptoms were related to his digestive system. And through years, we stayed like 80 to 120 days a year in the hospital.
He was very sick, so we expected him to die several times.
My cries to God were, "Did you forget us? Are you busy somewhere?" I would cry until I had no tears left. And there in the silence afterwards, he would come.
When work can happen anywhere,
we could very much feel his presence.
I was upset to God because why? Why should I get a sick son and so sick? Of course I was crying out to God and shouting to him. I think God is big enough to take my expression.
His muscles would get weaker and then they would disappear. So he had some kind of progressive muscular disease, although we didn't know what caused it. He had epilepsy, he had tachycardia, he had a lot of problems that caused him to grow very, very weak. And at the age of 11, our doctor said, "You've talked about going on a trip, just creating memories for you as a family to live on after he's gone. Now is your window of opportunity. Next year, you probably won't be able to." And we knew next year we might not have him.
We couldn't go to the beach because of Adrian. We couldn't play in the sand. We couldn't go to Disney park because he was too weak to go to everything, and he just had to look at them, and that was not fun for him.
And we thought, well, we'd like to go to a conference, like a church conference. And that might sound weird, but we had never been able to go anywhere. But we thought, so what if we go to Bethel Church? Our kids just love their music. When we got to Bethel, Adrian leaned over and he said to me, "Mom, now I know that whatever God has for me, that's what I want. I knew he wants the best for me." And that was just great. And then we went to a breakout session on healing. And at the end, they said, "Does anyone need a miracle?" And he raised his hand, and a young man stood next to Adrian. And he said, "So what's wrong with you?" And Adrian said, "I can't eat." And he just prayed for Adrian, praying for new life in his stomach and his digestive system. And off we went. And I asked Adrian, "So did you sense anything? Did you feel any different?" And he said, "No, but it was a good experience." So for lunch, we went to a restaurant nearby because we just needed to eat before the next session. And we all ordered, and Adrian said, "Can I have the breadstick to play with?" And usually at home, we would always give him food on his plate for him to cut to pieces and to smell and just to be a part of the meal, basically. And all of a sudden, Adrian said, "Can I have another one?" And we said, "No, you already have one." And he said, "Not anymore."
Yeah, I just ate it. It just happened. I have no idea why. I have no idea how it tasted. I don't remember. All I remember is my dad's look on his face when I told him. He was shocked and a little bit terrified.
Will it be sick, or is it get healed, or how will this go?
Just tiny, tiny amounts of watermelon that contains a lot of water was enough to make him very sick. Mm-hmm. So just the idea of him eating a breadstick, it was like, It was unimaginable. So my husband and I started talking. Now what do we do? Do we take him to a hospital? And we thought, no, it's no use. They don't know him here. You know, it's just too complicated to begin to explain everything. And we thought, well, we'll just have to observe.
And he went to bed and everything was normal, and we recognized something was different, but we didn't know what.
The next morning, I tiptoed into his room to see if he was still alive. And I looked over in his bed, and Thomas came and stood next to me. And there he was, sleeping, rosy-cheeked, and he was just fine.
I woke up with my mom over me and I'm asked, when is breakfast?
And it was just amazing. His healing didn't come with a manual. We didn't know how to do this. But honestly, we just couldn't stop him. He would eat everything. He would have burgers and fries and salads and pizzas and ice cream and everything. You know, it was just impossible to stop him.
I had 12 years to catch up on.
Within days from when he was healed, the muscles started growing back. He was changing right before our very eyes. When we came back to Norway, Adrian's doctors are saying this cannot be explained medically. His physiotherapist says this is a miracle from God. It just can't be anything else.
It's a very strange feelings when you have been through so many years of expecting him, he could die, and now he has the possibility to grow up, to get a family, and to get everything's possible for him now. That is amazing.
I remember the very moment I was in the car and I realized that Adrian would have a future. And he had been healed